My name is Annie E. I work as a senior researcher at Korea Institute of Oriental Medicine, which is funded by the Ministry of Science and Information and Communication Technology. My main task is to determine budget changes for Korean medicine R&D projects on a regular basis and to analyze the direction of R&D based on this information. And I would like to welcome you all on today's lecture, Introduction on the Current Status and Latest Result of Korean Medicine R&D. Then let's start. Yes, the content of today's lecture is largely divided into two sections. The first will introduce characteristics of KM R&D based on government expenditure and discuss the quantitative outcomes of research funded by the Ministry of Science and ICT and Ministry of Health and Welfare. And the second will discuss the outcome of KM R&D, focusing on government-funded institutes such as KIOM, which is received funding from the Ministry of Science and ICT, and NICOM, which received funding from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Well, the first topic is characteristics of KM R&D, which is based on government expenditure. And I will first discuss the overall status of KM R&D. In 2019, the government ministry spent a total of 110,600 million won on national KM R&D. And during the last 4 years, budget for KM R&D has increased, but as we can see in the graph, the number of projects and its spending in 2019 has decreased slightly. Well, next is expenditure performance by government ministry. As you can see, the Ministry of Science and ICT, Ministry of Health and Welfare, and Ministry of Education supports KM R&D funding, and the Ministry of Science and ICT and Ministry of Health and Welfare account for 81.2% of the total KM R&D expenditure in 2019. And this slide is about expenditure performance according to research agency type. In 2019, the trend of national KM R&D expenditure was highest in government-related research institutes at 55.2% or 61.61 billion won, followed by academia at 37.2% or 41.693 billion won, then industry. Well, here I will talk about expenditure performance by research providers major. In National KM R&D project, 440 research supervisors majored in medicine and health, accounting for the majority, with science and engineering accounting for 23% and 6%. And as I said before, the Republic of Korea's KM R&D is mainly funded by the Ministry of Science and ICT and Ministry of Health and Welfare. First, the Ministry of Science and ICT supports basic research in KM R&D field, and the main project it funds is the KM Researcher Support Project. The Ministry of Science and ICT invested in the KIOM research and management budget to support KM R&D. And this budget was 51.60 billion won in 2020. This allows for the development of KM scientification, standardization, and original technology. And the Ministry of Health and Welfare is central to clinical research in the KM R&D field. The main projects it funds are KM-based converging technology R&D and innovative KM technology R&D. Also, KM-based converging technology R&D develop empirical knowledge and technology for the prevention and treatment of disease using modern medicine based on KM. The budget for this R&D was 54.39 billion won in 2020. And innovative KM technology R&D seeks to improve medical service quality and prepare for its industrialization based on the standardization and scientification of evidence-based KM medical service. And the budget for this R&D was 77.79 billion won in 2020. I will talk about the main research outcomes which was funded by the Ministry of Science and ICT in this slide. KIOM's research outcomes during the last 10 years is depicted in this graph. The research outcomes of the two main projects funded by the Ministry of Health and Welfare is shown in this graph. Here, I will talk about the outcome of KM R&D for government-funded institute in the KM field. I will focus on two institutions in this slide. So the first institution is funded by the Ministry of Science and ICT called Korea Institute of Oriental Medicine and is abbreviated to KIOM. And the next institution is funded by the Ministry of Health and Welfare called National Institute for Korean Medicine Development, which is abbreviated to NICOM. In the next slide, I will discuss the two institutions and their main research outcomes in greater detail. And before I begin telling you about KIOM, I will play a short clip introducing KIOM.
Day and night, researchers look for ways to advance the age-old tradition of Korean medicine. They are driven by the knowledge that their work can give new hope to people in pain. Communication is key. Communication between modern science and Korean medicine, between researchers, physicians, and patients, and between the public, companies, and countries. We all communicate our shared hope and aspiration for everyone to enjoy a happy, healthy life. Hope and aspiration provide the fuel for research, the results of which will serve the greater good. It all starts here at the Korea Institute of Oriental Medicine. KIOM was established in 1994 as the first government-funded research institute to focus on Korean medicine. The institute has grown steadily over the years. Today, we work with an international community of traditional medicine to integrate and apply the results of our research. We lead efforts to make Korean medicine a more scientific and standardized field. We received recognition for the past 2 decades of hard work and achievements. Now, KIOM is looking forward to the next 20 years. Our dream is to extend the creative application of Korean medicine and contribute to the well-being of people around the world. Treat the disease before it appears. Korean medicine puts the individual before the disease. It's a philosophy that gives us insight into sub-health when there is no disease, but individuals feel discomfort or pain. We are currently developing an integrated system which will combine traditional and modern medicine and ICT to detect and treat sub-health conditions before they become serious diseases. KIOM has already developed natural remedies effective in treating cancer, diabetes, obesity, and more. We are also making inroads into prevention and treatment for degenerative diseases associated with aging. At the KIOM, we are leading the way in original technology so everyone can live a long and healthy life. What kind of research will be useful in clinical settings? What do patients need? What do people want? We believe the answer lies in safer, more reliable treatments. KIOM is establishing standards and guidelines for clinical practice. We study patient databases and publish analyses of treatments used in practice. Our findings are shared internationally and help establish the excellence of Korean medicine. We use cutting-edge technology to develop equipment, such as pulse and tongue diagnoses device and the Sasang constitutional analysis tool. These instruments are tailored for use in Korean medicine. Whether we are working on scientific analysis or developing new technology, our efforts are focused on enhancing and expanding practices in Korean medicine. KIOM is there for physicians and patients, every step of the way. Think about the future of Korean medicine. What will we need in 10 or 50 years? Korean medicine theories have been valued throughout history. But for wider use in hospitals and the medical industry, we need to scientifically prove the efficacy of treatments. We need to secure and diversify herbal resources against rapid changes in our natural environment. We need to organize literature on Korean medicine and make the information easily available to everyone. With an infrastructure of knowledge and resources, KIOM is leading the way into the future. We are stepping out of our labs, reaching out to medical practitioners, educators, and researchers in other fields. Because we know that traditional medicine is a living, breathing part of life in Asia. We are always open to new ideas and new discoveries. There's still so much to learn. But when we work together, we can achieve greater things. Our goal at KIOM is to become global leaders in medicine. We will further develop Korean medicine through scientific advancement and standardization, and help make the world a healthier, happier place for our children. That's why we work right here, right now. This is KIOM. Open innovation. Creative KIOM.
And the clip was made some time ago, but it will give you a general understanding about the institution. And first, I will introduce KIOM, which is funded by the Ministry of Science and ICT. And one of the key differences between KIOM and NICOM is that KIOM is a research institute that focuses on KM R&D, which is illustrated in its purpose of establishment and promotion of relevant industries in public health by carrying out specialized and systematic R&D in theories, technologies, practices, etc. of Korean medicine and spreading the outcomes. KIOM has 4 key R&D objectives. The first is digitalization of KM, and the second is future innovative KM, and the third is to overcome socially related disease, and the last is to create a KM information platform. As of 2021, KIOM's budget was 66,111 million won. The main institute is located in Daejeon, and it operates 2 other research centers in Daegu and Jeonnam. And KIOM also working hard to establish a global R&D collaboration network and has already concluded exchanges and cooperation agreements with 27 research institutes in 12 countries. And based on the aforementioned R&D objective and infrastructure, KIOM has produced various research outcomes in 4 main areas: diagnosis, clinical trial, herbal medicine, and data. I will now discuss the outcome in these 4 areas in detail. So, KIOM has conducted research in the diagnosis field to ensure the accuracy of diagnosis and quantify its result. As such, KIOM has developed devices such as Sa상 constitutional analysis tool, tongue image analysis device, pulse analysis device, abdominal image analysis device, comprehensive constitution health diagnosis and stimulation system. KIOM will continue to lead the way for personalized healthcare in the era of the 4th industrial revolution. In the field of clinical trial, KIOM seeks not only to examine the effect and mechanisms of acupuncture as well as develop clinical trial guidelines to pioneer the way for KM-led innovative medicine. As for outcomes in the field of herbal medicine, KIOM seeks to prove the safety of KM and enhance the credibility of KM by producing information on herbal resources. KIOM also continues its efforts to increase scientific use of KM through the development of drug candidates. Last but not least, in the field of data, KM's main research outcome is registering IMR, which is Integrative Medicine Research in the SCIE journal for the first time in Korea in the field of KM. I would like to invite all researchers in this field to look this journal up. So KIOM also manages KMpedia and OASIS to compile data and offer data collection service. So it also has worked to globalize 동의보감. And now I will introduce National Institute for Korean Medicine Development. And before I begin telling you about Nikon, I will play a short clip introducing Nikon.
Serving as the center of the Korean medicine industry toward the future. Pursuing scientific approach for Korean medicine and upgrading Korean medicine resources. Leading the world by developing policies and improving system regarding Korean medicine. National Institute for Korean Medicine Development opens up the future of Korean medicine. Nikon for the future of Korean medicine. World's traditional medicine market size, more than 185 billion US dollars, estimated to grow to 5 trillion US dollars by 2050. Korean medicine initiated its move to take the hegemony in the world's traditional medicine market with proven clinical evidences for thousands of years, growth potential without limit, blue ocean for incurable and chronic diseases and new anti-cancer drugs. The new history of Korean medicine is being made together with Nikon. Nikon was born to play a central role in making Korea a renowned country for well-developed Korean medicine industry in the world. By integrating the Korea Promotion Institute for Korean Medicine Industry and the Jeonnam Development Institute of Korean Medicine, Nikon is improving the public health and contributing to the development of the national economy by developing policies and improving Korea's healthcare system. Nikon is making an effort to develop Korean medicine in various formulations which are easy to take and carry a standardized efficacy of drugs. In addition, the Institute ensures quality standards, safety, and efficacy through standardization of pharmacopuncture. In addition, we're developing new Korean medicine by identifying active ingredients based on Korean medicine and scientific information. To this end, we develop and distribute Korean medicine materials by separating natural ingredients from Korean medicine materials and utilizing bioconversion technology to support the development of food, drug, and cosmetics. Nikon runs an organization dedicated to quality inspection of Korean medicine ingredients for the purpose of managing distribution and quality of herbal medicine. In addition, we're laying the foundation for herbal medicine based on Korean native resources and expanding the production of domestic herbal medicine by spreading seeds and seedlings of herbal medicine for which origin is identified. Through this, we're supporting distribution and adjusting the supply of herbal medicine ingredients with standardized quality. We lay the foundation for the development of Korean medicine through the development of policies and improvement of institutions regarding Korean medicine and improving the awareness on Korean medicine and promoting public health by strengthening international competitiveness. We have developed standard guidelines for clinical care and provided evidence-based medical service based on big data of collected clinical information for the purpose of improving the quality of Korean medical healthcare service and strengthening coverage. Korean medicine has protected the health of people with its long history. Nikon is making the best efforts to develop Korean medicine into the national strategic industry and thereby making Korean medicine a key to the bright future of the public health and national prosperity.
And now I will introduce the Nikon in detail. So, as I mentioned in previous slide, Nikon received funding from the Ministry of Health and Welfare. Nikon seeks to cultivate KM industry and herbal resources, as well as the globalization of KM by offering the Ministry of Health and Welfare support in KM policy. As of 2021, Nikon's budget was 38.4 billion won. The main institute is located in Gyeongsan, and it operates 3 other centers in Seoul, Daegu, and Changwon. As you can see, Nikon has a GLP and a GMP facility in each center. The GLP facility focuses on the toxicity and safety evaluation of herbal medicine, while the GMP facility contributes to the revitalization of herbal medicine industry through the supply of clinical trial medicine. And the next slide shows the outcomes for the globalization of KM, such as the International Traditional Medicine Industry Exhibition, Korean Traditional Medicine Industry Expo, and work to attract international patients. Finally, Nikon also conducts KM R&D projects, and among these projects manages the evidence-based clinical practices, guidelines of Korean medicine development team, and innovative Korean medicine technology development team. And Nikon seeks to construct a system for clinical trial support and support these clinical trials by offering scientific directions. And this is the end of my lecture. And should you have any comments or questions, so feel free to contact me on this email address. I hope that this lecture served as a reference for Korean medicine R&D and outcome in many countries, and that it was informative for those who listen to these lectures. So I will also hope I get the chance to meet all of you in person and talk about this subject in greater detail once COVID-19 is over. So thank you very much. Bye.